Hello, and welcome to this tutorial using amazing crafting products. I'm Lynne Suprock, and the name of my business is Simply Pretty Stuff. I design, publish, and teach workshops about jewelry making and creative mixed media. I have a URL that will be at the end of this tutorial. Today we're going to make these rings using amazing casting resin. We're using two types. We're going to layer these charms or these little hearts in between. You can also use stamps to put in between the layers and use the metallic powders made by Alumilite in the amazing crafting product line. Okay, we're going to first use this fast cast resin. We're going to mix colorant inside of it. Then we're going to use, for the last layer in the doming layer, this transparent casting resin, which will take about 24 hours to really set up. Here's the dye. It comes in a little squeeze bottle. It doesn't take very much at all, just a drop or two. And then we'll need some bezels. You can use any ring with the bezel, but I have shotgun shell ring bezels, and I do an online course at icreateflix.com to show you how to make those if you're interested. We'll need some clothespins to hold the rings in place when we pour the resin. This is one option. I'll show you how to do that. You just kind of clip them in like that. Sometimes you have to be a little careful depending on how big your ring shank is, or use bigger clothespins. Keeps everything level when you're pouring, and that's important. Whoops. So you can use two for bigger ring shanks. And level it out and steady it, and then you're set to go. You can see closely here how it should look. And use a level table when you are working. It's important to also pour things at eye level. And if you prefer, I do sell on my Etsy site this jig. You can lay a cloth in it and you can make it bigger, or you could take out the nuts and make it smaller. I can use it for soldering charms as well as pouring resins inside of rings. If I want to do more than one ring, this is really helpful. Lickety split, it's done. Okay, I'm going to add just a drop at the very bottom of the cup, and that little bit of purple, which we're going to use today, is going to be enough to mix with part A of the fast cast resin. You mix it thoroughly, swirl it around to get a really nice color. Nothing to really set the resin, and you'll see that there's no bubbles that form with this fast cast resin, which is nice. We're going to add a 1:1 ratio, or the equal amount of the part B. And then we're going to stir it together, and you have to work quickly because this is fast cast resin, so it will set up quickly, but you want to mix it thoroughly. A little bit of magic here, and you can kind of see that it's a little bit clear. Alright, it's ready. So we pour it into the bezel, and we only want to pour about halfway up. We don't want to fill that bezel. Okay, just about halfway. And then, since we have extra resin, we don't want to waste it. We're going to pour it into another mold. I always have other rubber molds or things available to pour my extra resin. I can use it in other projects at a later time. I have a drawer full of later project things, but that's okay. You don't want to really throw it out or waste it. We're going to wait for this to set up, and here we go. In several minutes, we have this nice light color change as well. And here's the little heart I'm going to put inside. It's heavy, so I don't need to glue it in. I'm just going to set it there, and maybe take a wooden skewer or something to position it center, because once I pour the next layer of resin, I don't want to be moving things around in there. So I'm going to straighten that out best I can. I kind of like that. And I really like that little amethyst in the middle of that green heart. It complements that purple that's underneath. All right, so now we're going to mix up our next bunch of resin, which is the transparent casting resin. It's again, it's part A and part B, 1:1 ratio. With this kind, there is going to be a little bit of bubbles when you're mixing, so you will have to be more careful. I tend to mix things really well, like I'm whipping eggs. And I know that's probably not the best thing, that introduces a lot of bubbles, but I still have magic with me here. And I'll stir and stir. And you'll stir this for about a good minute. You want to really mix it, and it'll go from being cloudy to become a little more clear. And once it's clear, bubbles or not, it's ready. You can let it sit for a couple minutes, and most of those bubbles will dissipate. Okay. But if you're in a hurry and you want to, pour your resin in and go take a shower, you can do that, because the bubbles, again, will dissipate, and then we can do something to help that along later. So what I'm going to do is get to be eye level, and I'm going to want to pour that so that it domes. And I'm going to show you on this ring, if you can see, if I get close up, there's a little bit of a lip above the bezel, the ring there, and that's the doming effect. So you won't be able to touch the metal part. You won't feel it with your finger. Instead, you'll feel that nice, hard, clear dome on top. So that's what we're going for. Here's another on the other piece. You can just barely see it. You kind of have to get a knack and maybe do this a couple times if you're not comfortable. Sometimes when you first try to pour doming resin, it'll spill over the bezel, and then you have to kind of clean things up and do it again. But it doesn't take that much to get used to it. You just have to be really slow, and being eye level is key. Okay, here I go. Wish me luck. First time is great. I don't have to redo this. All right, I think I'm domed. One last drop or two. Okay, sometimes the resin will go underneath the charm a little bit and sink down, so you'll have to watch that and add some more if it does. Okay, and if there are bubbles that form, you can in fact wait just a few minutes to see if they come up and pop, or you can gently exhale over your piece. And I say gently so you don't blow the resin all over your jig or out of the ring. But then the bubbles will dissipate. It'll be clear, and you'll be left with something that's going to have to harden then for the next about 24 hours before you would wear it. And there you have it. I have all these rings that were done the same way. Aren't those good? I really enjoyed making these. And they're very luscious. They look really good on your finger when they match your outfits and when you're going away. And people say, wow, I love that ring. And you say, yep, I made it myself with amazing crafting products. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. At the end, there will be some links, URLs that you could go to either take a shotgun shell ring class, buy some things from Amazing Crafting Product, or go to my website to see what I'm up to or my blog. Thanks again.